Hey friends, Pete here from sportconsumer.com, and today I'm thrilled to bring you a review. But it's not just any review, it's a review of a product that I am passionate about. And if you're here watching this, you already know from the title what it is, and it's a review on the Newton Gravity Forefoot Strike running shoe. Now I run every day, almost, about 5 times a week. I only do about 25K a week, but I've been doing that for like 20 years. And so I've used a number of shoes, but this pair of shoes is so far my absolute favorite. It's the one I use the most. And all the shoes I own are based on the concept that this shoe offers. So if you're intrigued by what that is, and you're not sure what Forefoot Strike means, you gotta listen up. Okay. So Forefoot Strike is a concept that is based on the idea that the efficient way to run, or the way to have an efficient gait is another word for it, the way you walk or run, is to land, when you run, on your mid to forefoot. So let me ask you a question. Think carefully, just this is between you and yourself. Think for a second, if I asked you to run 100 meters as fast as you could, or even just a jog down your driveway to the road at about a medium pace. Think for a second how much of your heel would touch the ground. Now, if you're honest with yourself, the answer is probably none in your sprint and very little in a medium to quick jog. All right, and that's done for a reason. It's because it's not efficient. It doesn't work very well. Now, I don't know if you're a religious person, so if you believe in God, that's the way we're created, or if you don't believe in God, that's the way Ma Nature has it, that we are more efficient in our gait if we land, when we run or jog, on the forefront, or the fore part of our foot, being just behind the toes, or kind of the mid-foot. Now, I'm not telling you to run on your toes. All right, that's not what I'm saying. It's a little bit behind your toes, but it's more towards the mid to the front of your foot. It's just more efficient. If you slam your heel into the ground every time you run, like most people do, it's putting tons and tons of pressure and stress on your joints, your ligaments, your bones, your knees, your ankles, your hips. In fact, pretty much your whole body. And that's a scientific fact. I'm telling you, you can Google it, you can see, tell me in the comments below how wrong I am on that once you've Googled it and checked out whatever sites have more authority than mine, like WebMD or something like that, right? Seriously, it's not a good way to run. But you know, most people slam their heels in the ground when they run, and because of that, do you know that most running shoe companies create shoes that have a really, really thick heel on them? Why? Because that's how people run, and so they're trying to minimize your injuries by giving you lots of padding where you slam your heel into the ground. All right, I'm telling you folks, that's the way it is. And so this shoe company that I'm reviewing today, which is Newton, it's a shoe that is catered towards those who have a forefoot strike, and it encourages you to run with the proper gait. Now, I have a lot of running shoes. I've been running for many years, and actually decades, and all of the shoes that I have, they're all biased towards forefoot strike. All right, so that brings us to the shoe right here. This particular shoe is called a Newton Gravity. Now, this shoe that I'm holding here has a special part in my place in my heart, because this shoe, do you know how old it is? This is 10 years old. Now, Newton was established in 2007 in Colorado. They're still there. And one of their first model of a Gravity, that's the name of this, Newton Gravity, it came out shortly thereafter, and I bought it. This is it. And the reason I'm showing you this instead of a brand new pair is that this shoe is still the one I wear to this day for some of my competitions. I do a lot of 5Ks, so I'm not doing marathons or anything like that, but I still use these for training and competition. That's how much I like them. They're fairly light, and I'll get into the specs in a second, but it's the concept. I just love this concept. I'll get into some of the performance details in a second, but for those of you who are into the numbers, let's get into some of the specs right now. Okay, so the Newton Gravity, they're not the lightest shoe on the market. In my size 11, they are 11 ounces. So they're not like ultra light, but they don't really feel like there's any weight on my foot when I'm running with these, especially given all the other things that they have, the tech. There's a 3mm heel to toe drop. Now most of you, if you know anything about regular shoes, you're looking at most running shoes have something like 8 or more millimeter drop from heel to toe, and these are only 3, so they're a little more flat, and they have a neutral support, definitely. So they don't really have any sort of arch to try to, you know, correct pronating or anything like that. They're neutral, and they have the outside of them, the exterior is like a 4-way kind of stretchy mesh. It has overlays, welded kind of overlays to give it some structure. It's like a 3D engineered air mesh is what they call it. So it's a seamless construction, though mine are not seamless because these are oldies. So the cushioning is basically a full foot cushion. They call it a Newtonian cushion. And on the outside, along the heel or the outsole, there are what they call tactical flex grooves, and they basically mirror the foot motion, or your foot where it bends by your toes and such. So it's just you know, it's got some tweaking for our benefit. The outsole is basically a high density rubber, or it has high density rubber in strategic places, which is highly abrasive or abrasion resistant. So overall, there's been a lot of thought and engineering that's gone into this. Now, as far as the performance goes, the Newton Gravity, of all of the models that Newton offers, it has the most diversity or versatility. This shoe is one of the only shoes that I've ever heard of the manufacturer saying that it's good for both training and race day. Now, Newton does have a race shoe, but this can suffice if you're a little bit budget conscious or you don't have space for bags of shoes all around your house or apartment. Then the Gravity is the shoe for you. It's great for race day. I use it for races, and but also for training. I find it great for both. So anyway, here's the really cool thing that I really like about these. There is no other shoe on the market that I'm aware of at this moment that has this. On the bottom of this shoe are what Newton calls lugs, and they're just chunks. In this case, it's these orange things. They're just chunks that when you look at the shoe from right from the side, they stick down, or they stick out from the bottom of the sole, and they compress when you land on the mid to front of your foot, and then they bounce back. All right, so they propel you forward. So you're rewarded for landing on your forefoot instead of on your heel. So that's kind of a really cool thing. When I wore them the first time years back, I improved my 5K time by over a minute, which is really unusual for me because I'm really consistent, and it just immediately went over a minute. And I don't know whether that was necessarily the lugs or that I was so excited about wearing a new pair of shoes. I don't know. I suspect it was the lugs because I don't get too excited about wearing a new pair of shoes. So it was just that good. So the ventilation on these guys is literally second to none. In fact, on these particular shoes, this is the older version, I can actually see my socks, right? I can see details on my socks, the writing on my socks through the top. There's 2 layers of mesh, but but they have fairly big holes in them, and when you walk outside on a chilly day, boy, you can feel it on your feet. You're like, wow, do I even have shoes on? So that's how much ventilation there is on these, and the new ones aren't too much different than that. I know I've tried them on. I don't actually have the new Gravities, the Gravity 9s, but I did try them on, and I did a little bit of a sort of an in-store jog around, and they're very similar to these in the way they feel and the way they act and react at this point. So I will be getting a pair soon, but I wanted to get this review out there just for you guys to get you excited about the Newton Gravity 9. Okay, so the other thing about this that I really like is that it has a full foot cushioning. A lot of shoes do, but for a shoe that is biased towards forefoot strike, you don't have to worry that, oh no, what if I do land on my heel? Is there enough padding? Is there enough cushioning? The answer is yes. Newton's got you covered. If you have a lapse and revert back to your old ways of slamming your heel down on the ground and then rolling forward like a lot of people do, don't worry, you're covered. All right, there's enough cushioning that goes right through front to back. It's not excessive. It's not a gushy feeling shoe like some of the new Hokas that are out. Great cushioning, but they almost feel, you don't really feel the road. It's not very responsive. It just feels really, really cushiony. This one's not so much. It's enough cushioning to make you feel comfortable. This is my opinion, but you can really feel that you want to bias your gait towards the forefoot. All right, the lugs that I mentioned earlier, these have been worn every other day at least for the last many years, and they're still happening. They're still working. Yes, they're wearing down a little bit, but they still work, and you can still feel them when you land on the front of your foot. I can feel them under my foot, and I can feel that they're doing some good when I spring forward off of them with each step. At this point, I've estimated, I've done a little bit of basic math, and I've got probably a little over 500 miles on these, because I do switch them up with other shoes, so I'm not sure how often exactly I wear them compared to some of my other shoes, but over 500 miles, and the lugs are still working, even though I don't think technically that's what they're supposed to do after 500 miles. I think Newton wants you to buy a shoe a little bit more often than that, but I'm just telling you, that's the good news for you and me. They last a long time. All right, so as far as looks go, I'm kind of into looks, but not as much as maybe some people. Having said that, I really like the Newtons, because if you go to their website and you check out, there's some links down below we have where you can check out where to buy them for the best price. But if you check out the options of colors, there is no, listen to me carefully, there is no running shoe company in the world, I'm talking Nike and Saucony and Asics and Hoka and New Balance and whatever, I guarantee you will not find one that has such crazy, vibrant, and just eye-catching colors. I mean, this is an old school one. This one isn't even that amazing, right? But it's got orange and yellow and black and white and red, and then it's got silver along the edges. This is all just in one shoe, and they're even more vibrant and just creative now. So I really like the colors that they offer, and I also really like the way they look with the lugs. The lugs, especially when the shoe is brand new, and the way you're walking, like near the start line on race day, the front of your foot is slightly sticking up because the lugs are just waiting to do their work. And I've gotten comments on them because of the way they look, the unusualness, and especially when I'm putting them on, sitting on a bench, and there's some other runners nearby, they're kind of glancing over going, hey, what's that all about? So they've just got a really unique look to it. So overall, the colors, the lugs, I like the look compared to most other shoes from most other shoe companies. And the price isn't very high either compared. So overall, I really like the look of these compared to pretty much any other shoe company on the market. All right, so now we get to value. And this part I like. When these shoes first came out, the price point was pretty much the same as it is now, and in some cases, depending on where you buy them, the price point now, 10 years later, is lower than, I don't mean adjusted for inflation, I mean the actual sticker price is lower now than it was 10 years ago. So the value, I mean, that's as far as I'm concerned, the value is one of the best values, if not the best value on the market today. So you can check out some of the prices below. We've got links below to a couple of different places where you can take a look at them. I'm telling you, the prices are very, very reasonable. Now, depending, if you're looking for a pair of cheap Chinese shoes, you can get a pair of running shoes, you know, I don't know what, just a completely no-name brand straight from overseas somewhere for like 30 bucks. Okay, I'm talking about a high quality engineered shoe. This is probably mid-price range, and in some cases, again, depending on where you buy it, I would argue and say it's on the slightly lower price range for a high-performance running shoe. All right, so just a quick overview of the shoe. This Newton Gravity Forefoot Strike shoe is an excellent shoe for those of you who are already running with a Forefoot Strike gait, or for those of you who are looking to transition from your regular heel first, slam into the ground running shoe to something with a more of a forefoot bias, right? It's not a barefoot minimalist running shoe, but it would be a good transition if that's what you're looking to move into. I stuck with this. I'm not going to go to barefoot. I want a little more protection all around, a little more cushioning. If I relapse a little bit every now and then, if I get tired and I don't lean forward enough, I will sometimes start to land more closer to my heel. And then I'll catch myself and correct that and start moving forward. But I'd like some protection when I do land on my heel, and this shoe has got you covered. So, by the way, just as a little aside, some people don't realize this. I know people in my own family I've talked to don't even realize this. When you land like this, boom, like most people do, on the ground and then roll forward, all right? That's how most people run. The heel hits the ground first, and then you roll forward and push yourself off with your forefoot. When you do that, what you're doing is you're actually putting on the brakes. So how efficient does that seem to be if you're putting on the brakes with every step you take? And if you don't believe me, let me ask you this. When you're running down a hill, let's say it's a fairly steep hill, you don't want to go full out and let gravity just pull you down. You'll fall on your face. So to put the brakes on, what part of your body hits the ground first when you're trying to run down a steep hill? Yeah, it's your heels. That's exactly what you do. You land first on your heel like this, and then you slowly, cautiously move forward. Well, what do you think you're doing when you're on a straight road or a flat road and you are running with the improper gait where you slam your heel down first? You're putting on the brakes. If only a little bit. It's almost imperceptible. It doesn't seem like you are. You don't think you are. You don't feel like you are. But ergonomically or kinesiologically speaking, you are. You're putting the brakes on. And then, of course, you're compensating for that by pushing yourself forward with the rest of your foot as you roll forward. And that's how most people run. It's no big deal. Nobody really thinks about it or talks about it, but I'm telling you, that's what's happening. So I'm just saying this is why forefoot strike or midfoot strike is kind of the better way to go. And every shoe, I mentioned earlier, I think every shoe that I own like half a dozen pairs right now of running shoes, road running shoes. That's about all that I do at this point. They all are biased in to some degree or another towards forefoot strike. I don't have any that have a really, really thick heel and then tapers to nothing at the front. All right, and a lot of running shoes are made this way. A lot of them, most of them are. All right, so anyway, that's just a little by the by. I talk a lot, I know. So guys, I really, really appreciate you guys checking out this video, and we've got links below that show you where you can buy these shoes for the best deal, the best price, and just get more information in general. Please do check those out. It doesn't cost you anything. Even if you just use those links, go to Amazon or somewhere and just sort of check out products, it helps us out, all right? Even You know, here's the secret. Even if you go and you click the link for this shoe down there to Amazon and you end up buying some like, you know, household Gorilla Glue, you're helping us out, all right? And it doesn't cost you 1 penny. So really appreciate your help on that, guys. It helps us make these videos. It takes a lot of time to keep sportconsumer.com updated. It's 3,000 products that I'm reviewing and over 300 sports and activities. It takes a long time. I love it, but I need your help, and I really appreciate you checking us out today. All right, guys, we look forward to bringing you the next review as soon as we possibly can. All right, have an excellent day. We'll see you next time.